Hi, my name is Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. Today we're going to have a blood red super wolf moon. And I'm going to tell you when it's going to happen, what it's going to be like, and how to view it. So today we're going to have a super blood wolf moon. What does that all mean? That sounds like crazy. You're going to see this happening and being talked about in the news services today, but what does this all mean? I mean, it's like, what's a super moon versus our regular moon? Why is it bloody? What kind of murder happened there? And what does this have to do with wolves? No clue? Perfect. Glad you asked. So, I've written a bunch of the eclipse guides, the Total Eclipse Guide series for every state. I wrote a series for the 2017 total eclipse, and I went from Oregon to South Carolina, and I have written the Total Eclipse Guide series that's going to go from Texas to Maine in 2024. Man, that's going to be a crazy, huge event. But today, we're going to have a lunar eclipse. Now, what's a lunar eclipse? Oh, let me show you. I've got some information here from NASA and JPL, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you the pictures. And this is where the sun shines at the earth every day, thank goodness. And then the moon ends up in the shadow or the umbra of the sun. Now, you might say, what's a big deal? The moon gets bright and dark every month. This is not special. No. Hang on, people. So the way this works is that I'll show the picture right here, is that as the moon revolves around the earth, it ends up in different phases, and the moon revolves around the earth as it goes all the way around the sun. So the moon phases are from the earth as it spins around. It's kind of this mind bender. The earth revolves around the sun, rotates on its axis, the moon revolves around the earth, but notice the face of the moon never changes because mysteriously the moon is what do they call it, tidally locked, where it's in the exact position where as it revolves around the earth, the facing direction is always the same. Magical, of course. And then the moon is also 400 times smaller than the sun, so that's why you get the perfect total eclipse with a corona. But why do you say that the moon eclipse or a lunar eclipse is a big deal? Because the moon ends up in the umbra, or the main shadow of the earth. Now, interestingly, these eclipses, the lunar eclipses, last a lot longer than a total eclipse because the earth is, much bigger than the moon. Thank goodness, otherwise the earth would act differently. But so the effect of this is that the earth blocks the moon from seeing the sun, which happens to be you, and here's the poor little moon hiding behind the earth. And as the moon goes into the beginning shadow of the earth, it becomes darker and darker, gets to the darkest part of the shadow, and then it comes back out in a couple hours. So now I've got my data here from JPL NASA, because they're probably the most educated people on this activity. So there are two parts of a shadow. Did you know that? There are actually two parts of a shadow. One is called the penumbra, and one is called the umbra. The penumbra is the fuzzy edge of a shadow. If you go out today, and it's probably overcast in much of the country right now because it's January, and if you put your hand out and you look down at the ground, you'll see a fuzzy edge on the shadow. That's called the penumbra. It's some diffraction effects and all sorts of physics, but don't worry about that. Just know that there's an edge of a shadow, and that's called the penumbra. That begins at 6:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 20th, which happens to be today. And the edge of the moon begins marching into that penumbral shadow of the earth. And it says for the next 57 minutes, the moon moves deeper and deeper into the shadow. Boom, boom, boom. And because the Earth's shadow is not fully dark, you may notice some dim shading or anything at all as the moon nears this part of the eclipse. It's not going to be that exciting because it's really hard to see. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now we get into the umbra part of the shadow. I'll show you this again here. I printed this up even in color for you to help you better understand this. That umbra part of the shadow here is where it gets really exciting. Notice they colored it in red. And you can see the penumbra, that projected shadow here. It's much bigger, but pretty darn light, because it has to do with the alignment and geometry and all that business. But the umbra, at 7:33 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is from JPL, the edge of the moon will begin entering the umbra. As the moon moves into the darker part of the shadow, significant darkening of the moon will be noticeable. And just during this part of the eclipse, the moon looks like it's gotten a bite taken out of it. It doesn't look like the regular phases of the moon. It looks like this just total like chomp, like the moon got chomped out of it. And so this is where it gets really fun. So it's not just a little mouse bite out of the moon because the moon's made out of cheese. Mice theoretically like cheese. Yeah, you get the story. So something interesting happens. The moon begins turning reddish orange. Here's a direct explanation from NASA. The reason for this phenomenon, the Earth's atmosphere. As sunlight passes through it, the small molecules that make up our atmosphere scatter blue light, right? Which is why the sky appears blue. So folks, if you have little kids and, hey, mommy, daddy, why is the sky blue? There's a reason for it. The oxygen molecules scatter the blue light and it sprays all around. All the rest of the spectrum heads right through. This leaves behind mostly red light that bends or refracts through the Earth's atmosphere and strikes the moon. We can see the red light during the eclipse as it falls onto the moon in the Earth's shadow. The same effect is what gives sunrises and sunsets their orangish colors. So this is going to be totally cool. And I saw this report that if you could stand on the moon, it'd be like this total sunsetty, sunrisey thing the whole way through. That would be kind of cool. But then the money time, totality. At 8:41 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 11:41 Pacific Standard Time, the moon will be completely inside the umbra, making the moon a total lunar eclipse. The moment of the greatest eclipse is halfway through the umbra, of course, at 9:12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or midnight 12:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now that's when everybody goes, ah! Not really. Not a lot of people are going to be out because it's January and here is today's cloud cover forecast. That's the current cloud cover over the United States. Yeah, not looking good. So if you're down in, if you're down in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, maybe parts of Louisiana, who knows. Up in the Rockies here, it's storming Norman, the Pacific Northwest. Where are we? It is completely drenched. The East is getting its walloping of a winter storm. So, are you going to be able to see this super blood red wolf moon? I don't know. Now, let's keep talking about this. Why is it called a wolf moon? Because traditionally, yeah, it's like, all these crazy names. So traditionally, the full moon of January is called the wolf moon because it's generally the deepest part of winter when the wolves in Yellowstone and Alaska and Minnesota and Maine, I guess. I don't know if they're wolves in Maine go, oh! Now, is that actually true? Not really. I was in Yellowstone a couple years ago on an expedition towing from, from West Thumb up towards Duck Lake and over to Old Faithful. And as I was going up, it was early in the morning, like 6 o'clock, and all of a sudden I heard one wolf, woo, and then another speak, woo, and all of a sudden the whole valley, woo, and then silence. That was totally creepy, but it was cool because I learned that the wolves actually followed me. That was really scary. So, very interesting, very interesting. Notes. Oh yeah, the after party, once you see that, let's see, after 9:43, the moon begins exiting. 10:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the moon's outside the umbra. It starts to get the bite again, and then boom, gone. So, let's see, the supermoon. Where is my map? Oh, wait, here we go. Okay, here we go. Dum, dum, dum. No. Okay, the supermoon, let me get my information here so I don't screw it up. The supermoon, so there's a weird thing about how the moon orbits the Earth. There's a thing called a perigee and an apogee, and let me, I didn't print it up. Okay, so the moon, because the moon's orbit around the Earth is not perfectly circular, it's somewhat elliptical. It looks kind of like an egg, give or take. And so when the moon is at the peak point or the closest point to the Earth, and this happens once every whatever it happens, as the moon's revolving around the Earth, revolving or rotating? Revolving, hopefully. I'm not saying that wrong. That'd be pretty embarrassing. But this is the point where the moon is the closest to the Earth in its orbit around the Earth. And as a consequence, the moon is going to appear 14% larger and 30% brighter. So even though you have a slight enlargement, that incredibly increases the amount of light reflecting from the sun, or from the light from the sun to hit the moon and come back to us. So that's why it's a super moon, and that's why it's a wolf moon. And why is it a blood moon? Because of the atmosphere and the distortion. So now you know when the moon solar eclipse is, oh well, gosh, getting so excited here. When the lunar eclipse is going to happen, the money time starts at 7:33 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 10:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when it starts getting exciting, and the creepy blood moon. So it's purely just an effect of the light going through the atmosphere, bending over, not some horrible massacre on the moon. Didn't happen. It turns more like this coppery color, but very cool. Highly likely to generate a lot of excitement. Unfortunately, the cloud cover map looks pretty bad for the United States. But if you happen to be in Mexico or South America, you actually have a very good chance, because the entire western hemisphere of the Earth is going to actually experience that. So I'll get the notes here. Totally cool. Let me see if I can find my picture. Oh, help me out here. Oh yeah. And just to give you an idea of a solar eclipse in 2024, that's how the solar eclipse works versus a lunar eclipse. And you can see the moon is pretty darn tiny compared to the Earth. And that's why a lunar eclipse is, it's totally a different effect. But interestingly, there are fewer lunar eclipses than solar eclipses. It's just a peculiarity of how the moon zips around the Earth at a slightly off-angle axis. It's kind of weird, but just suffices to say, total solar eclipses are more exciting. They generate insane amounts of excitement. Lunar eclipses, not so much, because, I don't know, they're usually in the dark. People aren't out as much, but that's the way it works. So definitely, if you have the opportunity, just go out tonight around, I don't know, like, let's see, let me say, well, yeah, go around 7 to 8. Go outside around, like, I don't know, about 7:45, 7:50 Pacific Standard Time, or 10:45, 10:50 Eastern Standard Time. Bundle up, get your rain jacket on, get your gloves and whatnot, because it's cold and rainy, or in San Diego it's like 77 degrees, but whatever. Go out, check this phenomenon out, because it is the last one to happen in this decade. It's totally creepy, but boy, if you can get the cool photographs, it's well worth it. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. I am the author of the Total Solar Eclipse Guides for every state in the United States that's going to have an eclipse in 2024. Get out there and share your photographs of the super blood wolf moon. Thank you for watching.